everyone, this is FIDE-master Viktor Nestroyev. Thank you for joining our webinar. Today we're going to talk about direct attack. Please let me know if the sound and video quality is good. Okay, we are waiting for more attendees to come, and I'm also checking if everything works perfectly on both platforms, on Twitch as well as on YouTube. If you attend my webinar for the first time, please let me know which country are you from and what's your rating. Okay, so this sound is too low. Okay, just a quick thing that I'm going to do, and you'll tell me if the sound improved. This and this. What about the sound? Is it better? If not, it's fine. I just do something else. So I just wanted to decrease the noise, so that's why I changed the sound. I can get it back. What about this? I think this should be much better. What do you think? That is better. Okay, let's get back to 0. Okay, yeah, now it's better. I'm sure it is, because I got my ordinary settings. Yeah, fine. Okay, yeah, we're waiting for Marco. Yeah, guys, perfect. Thank you for joining my webinars. And I'm sure that every webinar you learn something new. By the way, we are going to start with the position that I announced on my Instagram. Do any of you follow my Instagram? If yes, just send me a plus or yes. I just want to know if you are familiar with this position or not. Okay, so anyway, this is my Instagram, and I'm quite active there, so you can at least learn something there. I'll also send here the link on for YouTube. So as for my Instagram, there was a story where I explained this position. And let me, while you are not familiar with it, let me just tell you this story. So this position happened in my game when I was 9 and was participated in Novosibirsk Region Championship among boys under 10. I was playing this game with a leader with white pieces. I was already a knight up, so they had 1 pawn as a compensation. Right? No. There was also a pawn on c4. Yes, there was a pawn on c4. So there was a pawn on c4. They have 1 pawn. No, still not. 6 versus... Yeah. So they wanted to capture on d4 and b and has one pawn as a compensation. Or maybe there was no pawn on b4. Yeah, that's right. So let me replace this pawn. Sorry. So what I had the knight, they had one pawn and they were threatening to take the other pawn. So with two pawns compensation for a knight and with a weak king, I was a little bit worried about what may happen. And I played here. I played queen g4 move, intending to exchange queens because I was sure that without queens I have nothing to worry about. I can simply exchange pieces and win the game because of extra knight. This is maybe not the best move. I think the second best move. And what happened then? So my opponent was thinking, but the weather was too sunny, and he asked me if we can just move to the other table where it's not too sunny, and no, the sun was just shining on our eyes, so it was really difficult to play. And actually several tables were already vacated because I play long games, so that's why I'm a player who finishes the game almost last. Sometimes last, sometimes maybe one of the last players, and most of the tables were already available. So usually if you are not satisfied with your table and you want to change the place, you should talk to the arbiter, and you should ask the arbiter if it's possible to get another table, move there. So everything should be done through the help, no, with the help of the arbiter. However, we did it ourselves, and when the arbiter came, we moved from one place, from the third board to the fourth board, I think. And he asked, okay, why did black resign? Why it's not possible to capture on d4 here? He made this move on the board, so just wanted to continue the analysis. And we told him that actually we are still playing, so that's why he said, okay, sorry, move the queen back, and said, okay guys, but next time if you decide to change the table, please notify me first. So we continued. My opponent thought for, like, he maybe spent about 10 more minutes, and then he finally played this move. What do you think I played then? Parallax, can you please explain rook h8? So what happened then? I actually, queen d4 was the move that I expected. I expected two moves, queen takes queen and queen d4. Yeah, thanks. So no, rook h8 with queen h3 and queen h6 of course makes sense here. However, it's not the best option. No, not queen h4 because the queen is still on the fourth rank and we can just exchange the queens in this case. I played queen h3. After this move, my opponent resigned. Why? I created a direct attack. So I made a move and there was no defense for him to prevent queen h8. So there is no need to sacrifice the rook. You can play queen h3 immediately and threaten a checkmate on h8. The best thing he could do was no, probably just to sacrifice the queen with queen e4, then king g1 and queen h1. That was the only and the best way to continue, but of course he understood that without a queen there are no chances. Moreover, I'm about to checkmate with queen h6, queen g7. There is almost nothing they could do. So he resigned here. So here, imagine that even such a strong player like an arbiter, so we were just boys, about, I was 9, he was 10. So I played queen g4, and even the candidate master, the arbiter was a candidate master, blundered queen h3 here. However, the position is actually absolutely losing, and the best option was to play rook h4, double there, and checkmate. Queen g4 was the second best move. Okay, fine. So this is a direct attack, and this is what are we going to talk about today. And we are going to start with this position, where direct attack is illustrated perfectly. So first of all, I want you to understand what it means. I explained by the example of my tournament game. However, I want you to understand that direct attack is such a tactical device or a tactical trick. And by applying a direct attack, you create a threat to the king or to a certain enemy piece. And sometimes it's really difficult to avoid any material losses or checkmate, to defend against this direct attack. But even if it's possible, your opponent has to spend a tempo. And during this tempo, while he's doing this move, you can create another kind of attack, or maybe do something like that, some other kind of attack. But I want you to understand that direct attack is not when you make 3 different moves to prepare one threat, and he finds only one move that defends against all these possible threats. It's not a direct attack. Direct attack when you spend a tempo, one tempo, and then they have to spend the tempo to defend. Because if you spend 3 tempos and they spend only 1, it doesn't make sense. You lose 2 tempos, and during these 2 tempos, your opponent could improve at least their position. Okay. So what do you think, guys, about this position? It's white to move, how white can create a direct attack and then take the benefits of this direct attack. Okay, so rook g7 is one of the suggestions. Rook g7, bishop g7, what then? Rook takes g7 again, and if queen takes g7, knight takes g7, king takes g7, and probably you wanted to say queen to g4, delivering a check. However, I'm not sure if this position is winning, because you have to play, it is. So rook g7 actually works. Rook g7, bishop g7, rook takes g7, queen g7, knight g7. King goes there, check, they go away, you take there, and maybe rook c to f8. Yes, this position is winning. However, rook g7 wasn't the best option. The best option was mentioned by 2 other our students. It's queen to g4 or queen to g3. Why? The idea of this move is to deliver a checkmate on g8. How to defend? Then black realizes that they can't defend the position without material losses. This move loses a minor piece, this move loses the exchange, and this queen's move cannot be played because the queen is lost. So rook f8, then knight takes f8, and unfortunately they can't even capture with the queen always the rook or with the bishop. Well, actually, they can't capture it all. If they capture with the queen, they lose on d7, and you are a rook up. So the best move is rook g6. You take, then queen takes, and you still threaten to take on h6, to play queen h5. Well, a lot of threats. Should be a completely winning position. So here with queen g4 you create the threat, and it's almost impossible to defend against this threat. Your opponent has to face with material losses. The next position I'm going to show you, this is where you play with white pieces. How would you continue here? What do you think? So what white should do to be able to win here? So bishop d5. I see, bishop d5. What if they just play king f8? You gain the pawn or what? Okay, they can also play knight b6 to exchange on d5. Ah, you can take on d6. That makes sense. Yeah, bishop d5 seems like your position is better, but it's not the main move. So rook e8, that's right. So this is a direct attack. So you attack something directly. And they have to defend. For example, if now they play rook f8 or rook d7, how would you play? Yeah, exactly. Here you just take on d8, and then you remove the defender of f6, and then you can take it with your bishop. After which the rook is hanging. No, g takes f6 doesn't make much sense here because of king f7. The rook is hanging. So, and of course, h5 in this position doesn't look as strong as rook e8, which either gains one of these two pieces, or in this case gains a piece plus gains the f6 pawn. Okay, fine. Okay, let's now make a minute of a self-promotion. So this is my website and blog. So you remember last time we were talking about Italian game, and I published it here. So if you click here, you'll find some description, the webinar, and the analysis. Italian game, my variation that I suggested. There are also a few games inserted. You can download it if you want. So here you can scroll down and download as PGN. And these are game examples that we covered during our class last Sunday. Also, if you are interested, I published about books for beginners, and this is the last one of my recent posts where I played with my student with handicap. So you see I didn't have a rook and pawn on a2. So I'm trying to keep my blog active. That's why, guys, you can always subscribe. Okay, let's continue with the webinar. I just wanted to let you know that you can download the analysis of Italian game. Fine. So the next position is this one. It looks like it's completely winning for black, and at least they can capture on h4. But what is the most quick way to deliver a checkmate in this position with black? So what's your opinion? Queen h6 to distract the queen. That makes sense. What if they play queen c3 after that to still keep the protection of the e1? So queen h6 distracting makes sense. And then rook e1, but with rook e1 you allow them to exchange the queen for rook and bishop. Yeah, the position is still winning, but now here, yeah, this is the best move, after which they play queen c3. And then queen e3, so you directly attack e1, threatening to checkmate. Plus, this is another checkmate. Oh, this is where they have to resign. So if, let's say, you directly play queen e5 in this position, threatening with a similar idea, they could play knight g2. And this is where you don't checkmate quickly. Because if you take, they take with the king, for example, and there is no quick checkmate. If you play queen e2, and then rook e2, you will checkmate, but it will take time. So first, distract, and when you realize that the queen doesn't get distracted, for example, it goes here, then you play this move. Or if they play to c3, you can still play queen e3. Okay, fine. Let's do the next one. Oh, this is the one that I am sure you'll find complicated. How to make a direct attack here to be able to gain the material. Wait, when knight b3? In that position. Okay, guys, while you're thinking about this one, no, rook a1 maybe, but too slow, I think. Let me show. So, what if knight takes f3 after queen e3? Just checkmate on f2. Okay, if we go back here, so what are your suggestions? Rook e1, after which they can just maybe play knight d3 and then take on e5, or maybe not. No, rook e1 doesn't look like a winning move because the king can always escape. So another suggestion was made by Parallax and is rook c1. Yes, rook c1 is a direct attack. You attack the knight, and in case if knight, let's say, retreats, what happens in case if knight retreats? Who can tell me? Yeah, you play rook c6 and gain this bishop. And in case if they play rook c8, you have bishop g4. For example, rook c1, rook c8, bishop g4, you capture the rook and then this knight. And if this, then rook c6 check. So another idea is to play bishop g4, check, king escapes, and then b4. But it doesn't look so good. For example, they can continue with knight d3, and what? If you play b5, they take on e5 first, and then move the bishop out. So in this position, rook c1 is the strongest idea. Okay, let's continue with the next one. Number 7, so it's white to move. White to move, how would you play? I want you to find the best option. What do you think is the best option here for white? So rook takes g8 on knight and knight e7 check. Okay, this is how you gain king takes knight e7 fork and you gain the rook. Okay, that makes sense. Can you find anything better than this? Anything better than taking on g8 and then forking? For example, maybe there is a checkmate. What do you think? No, rook g8, king g8, rook e8, king escapes to f7. Okay, so yeah, the best move order is moving the e rook to e8. So you threatening to take with a checkmate. What they should do. While the king is on h8, it can't escape to the 7th rank because of the knight. And if rook takes rook, it's a checkmate. So to avoid it, they have to create an escape square with h6 or h5. But you take and then you play rook g7 mate. So here you could of course gain a rook, but the best move was rook e8. You attack on g8 directly and create a mating threat. Okay, just one more position, and after that we are going to analyze two positions taken from the games. What do you think about this position? It's black to move. How can you implement a direct attack here? Okay, so waiting for more suggestions. By the way, guys, please make sure to like this video and to subscribe to my Twitch and YouTube channels. Oh, you can just follow me. There is no need to buy any subscriptions. Okay, so queen takes c2 could work if this rook was on h1. If so, queen takes c2, bishop c2, and bishop f3, you gain the queen back and at the same time fork the rooks. But the rook is on f1, and after you play queen c2, bishop c2, and bishop f3, this rook just takes. f5, but pawn takes f5. Okay, guys, what other suggestions do you have? If, for example, you decide with this move order, bishop takes e4, queen takes e4, and then you play knight f6, your opponent gonna capture on e5 with a check. So I'll show you. Queen e5, this is a check. They exchange the queens, and there is no checkmate anymore. So here parallax again is correct. The move should be knight f6. How to realize that knight f6 is the best move? First of all, you should notice that you threaten with a checkmate. The only problem is this bishop, which protects the c2 square. So if you attack the bishop directly, they have to play something. The other thing that you may notice is that the bishop is pinned and actually can either stay on e4 or move only on the main diagonal. But they can't move on the main diagonal. In such a case, they blunder on c2 with a checkmate. That's why this move gains on e4. So the bishop is lost. They probably play king b1. You take there. Queen goes somewhere else. You take and even finally gain the rook. Okay, now let's talk about the games. In this position, you are playing with black pieces. And it's white to move, actually. And white played pawn to a8. Looks like there is something wrong with this move. What do you think black can do after pawn to a8? If you want, I can make this move on the board. So what I want you to remember, in the position where the kings are exposed, usually wins the player who can start checking the enemy king first. So a8 equals queen. Now black to move. What do you suggest? e1 equals queen. Okay, e1 equals queen, and then king h2. White is threatening to check on e8 with their queen at least. What's your suggestion of how to continue? You mean knight f7? You mean knight f2? Or what? At which moment? No, I can make this move. So e1 equals queen, check, king h2. How black should continue here? No more checks, and queen e8 is a kind of a serious problem, because then this rook is hanging. What else here can be played? Yeah, queen e8 is the strongest threat. And looks like there is almost nothing they could do. Even if they, let's say, play rook d6, you can continue with queen f8, threatening with rook b5 on the next move. Kind of a problem. So looks like e1 equals queen is not the best solution. What about knight f2? Knight f2, and if the king comes to g1, yes, you can play e1. However, what if the now king goes there? How would you play then? f5, you mean f4? Don't you think it's too slow because of queen e8? And then queen takes queen. So Marcel suggests to make a perpetual check. Knight g4, h takes g4, and queen h4, queen e1. No, actually, black is winning here. Oh, king f4 sounds really. That looks like a really strange move. No, I don't know. Maybe rook b4 cannot be played. Okay. Yeah, king f4, rook b4, and after queen b4, knight d5 fork. Knight g4, h takes g4. And then rook h7. Yes, that's right. So here knight g4, they have to take, but rook h7 is a checkmate. So we join all the pieces to the attack. Let's go back. So knight f2, if king goes there, it's easy. But what if king goes to h2? What's your opinion? Knight g4 anyway. No, knight g4, and if king g3 e1 leads to absolutely leads to a checkmate, king f3, and then let's say queen e3 mate. So knight g4 they have to take. Yes, and then rook h7. Doesn't matter where the king goes, it's a check anyway when you promote. No, in this case it's a checkmate. In this case, you play e1 equals queen, they go there. How do you checkmate here? Okay, so for those who is watching this webinar on YouTube, I'm also conducted on Twitch, and on Twitch there are no lags, so you can just join it there. And for those who for some reason doesn't want to watch it on Twitch, there is a link to YouTube. So queen f1, king goes where? To g3, f4 is a mate. But what if king goes to e3? Then it's not so easy to find a mate. Okay, so yeah, the right answer is to take first. They have to take. After which you move your queen to e4. What happens then? Actually, if this move, then queen f5 mate. And if this move, then queen f4 is a mate. So fine. So knight f2 is a winning move now. Knight f2. And in this case, we check first, then join the rook. And then promote with a check, and then checkmate with queen and rook. So knight f2 was a winning move. That's right. Now let's flip the board. So you see a8 equals queen was inaccuracy. What do you think white should do to be able to win this position? Rook b1. Okay, rook b1. But wait a sec. Rook b1, rook d8. So both players are ready to sacrifice their rooks. The pawn on d6 will be lost, I think. No, let's go through this line. So then, for example, d7. d7, king goes to d6 maybe. And if a8, rook takes e8, knight takes e8, king takes e2, or king takes d7, and then e1 equals queen is a strong threat, after which the position is going to end in a draw. So looks like rook b1 only leads to a draw, but the question is how to win. What else you can suggest? Rook b5, check, but rook b5, king takes d6. Rook d5, king takes c7. No. King h2. Let's check king h2. So king h2, then let's say what? Either knight f2 or e1 equals queen. If e1 equals queen, then a8 equals queen. So there are no checks to this king while white is about to play queen e8 on the next move. For example, rook d6, queen f8, threatening with this check. Now, let's say they move the king rooks somewhere. Maybe there, check. King f4, threatening with a perpetual check. But just queen e1, knight e1, and knight e6, this rook is lost. No, I'm sure it's a losing position. Rook d2, let's say, and the knight is trapped. We just need to get our king there. So king e5. King e5, rook e2. So this move, yeah, it's absolutely winning position. So yes, rook d6 doesn't save, and after king h2, e1 equals queen a8, white is winning. Let's go back. So after king h2, what if they start with knight f2? And if now you play a8, then knight g4 and so on. What do you think white should do in this position? What's your opinion? Yeah, so now yes, rook b1 works because e1 cannot be played. Rook b1, so what happens then? Something like knight g4 doesn't make sense. We stop the pawn. Rook d8 works, but in this case a8, rook takes a8, knight takes a8, and if this move, then d7, and after e1 equals queen, just d8. So then just take here and the game is over. If, for example, king d6 first, then just this move is enough, the pawn is taken, and with extra rook, white wins. Yeah, so, and if this move, then d7. Okay, fine, so here a knight f2 and rook b1 is a winning move. And e1 doesn't work because of a8. Okay, fine. So you see, is a8 directly doesn't work, but such move like king h2 works perfectly because after the promotion, white starts checking the enemy king first, and that's the reason why white win. For example, king f4, knight d5, king g5, and rook takes d7. So the only logical check is this, but actually it doesn't work. Knight f4, queen f4, g3, queen f2, queen g2. With extra exchange, it's completely winning position. Okay, fine. So now the last position that I prepared for today. What do you think white can do here? What kind of a direct attack they can apply? If you calculate the material, white is already a piece down, and they have a compensation of 1 pawn for that piece. Oh, white initiative is really strong. But I want you to find the concrete ideas of how to win here. So bishop d6. Wait. Bishop d6 is a queen blunder. Bishop d6, you blunder the queen with a mate. Rook h8 looks interesting. But if you play rook h8, you only attack h7. Let's say rook h8, bishop b7. You take there, and then after king g8, you can just repeat the position. Oh no, the rook g7 is a bad move, so you can just repeat the position. Or you can gain the material back, but after knight c5, the rook doesn't feel comfortable on the 7th rank anymore. For example, rook e8, and how to continue? Rook c6, queen takes e5. I think white is winning. Oh, sorry, I think black is winning already. What other suggestions are here? So bishop takes c6. Wait, what's the point? Queen takes c6. What else? Rook f8, but king takes f8, and how to continue the attack? No, you sacrifice too much. What else? Bishop g... no, wait. Rook f8, king f8, bishop d6, queen d6. Or knight d6, or king f7. What's the point? Wait, there is no knight. What do you mean? So rook f8, king, and then which move? Bishop g7? Who cares? I just take. The queen is protected. So bishop g4 is another suggestion here. Wait, no, maybe this move. Okay, another feature of a direct attack is that if you want to do something in this exact position, but for some reason it doesn't work, or at least you see that it doesn't work, you should calculate it properly, and maybe it works and your first opinion is mistaken. What would you like to play here? So, but for some reason you can't do this at the moment. Bishop d5, yeah, bishop d5 is no rook d6, knight d6. I don't know. Even if the queen moves, what do you get with this move? But bishop d5 gains the queen, if not the pawn on c6. Oh, let me just show you this. So, no, first of all, knight d6, and there is nothing you can do. Maybe you want to take here, but come on, who cares? This move, your bishop is still pinned. If, let's say, there was no knight, then at least queen e7 looks good. Rook f6, king g8. Rook takes c6. Yeah, maybe you have a compensation. But the knight is still here. So as for bishop d5, yeah, that move may work. Because if we get rid of the queen, we get more possibilities. So bishop d5, c takes d5, c takes d5. And what then? The queen has to move. No, where the queen moves. Let's say, no, two options, here and there. No, here, yes, it's a sacrifice, but it looks like black has enough material to compensate. So it's queen plus two pawns versus two minor pieces and the rook, which is approximately equal materially. But I think this king weakness makes white position much better. For example, bishop c3, rook e8. Otherwise, queen e5 is played. And queen d2 with the idea of g4 and then queen d4 or queen g5. I think white is winning in this position. So sacrificing the queen doesn't make sense. What if they play queen e7, which is the only move? What's your opinion? How to continue the attack? Yeah, there is no coordination between black pieces. Okay, so now, guys, you suggest rook h8. Yeah, that makes sense. Now rook h8 and you threaten to take and gain the queen. How can they defend? No, first of all, this is not an option because after rook h7 you are gaining the knight back plus you threaten the queen. What if, let's say, they move the queen to g5? How would you continue? Now, should we take on h7 right away? So we take, the king goes. No, this is a blunder because of bishop f6 at least. So they only have two squares, f8 and g8. So for example, if king goes to f8, how can we continue? No, bishop d6 doesn't make sense. Knight takes d6. Oh, we can just play what? Maybe queen c3? What do you think about this move? Queen c3, threatening to check and then join the queen to h8 and checkmate. I don't see any defense. So, for example, this move. Check, he goes there. And still bishop d6. what's the idea of bishop d6? If now knight captures, what happens? Yeah. So if they take rook h7, the king has to go to the back rank and then queen h8 or queen g7. Queen h8 is a mate immediately, despite of where the black king goes to. So queen c3, and we are threatening with a mate. There is nothing they can do. Queen f3, at which moment queen f3? No, even if queen e3 here, still bishop d6 and queen h8. Okay, and what if queen goes there? Can we still play queen c3 or not? No, at least we can't capture on h7. What do you think you should do instead? Aha, so here bishop c3 makes sense with the idea of queen e5. And then with the idea with actually queen e8 here. They should somehow secure. They can do it with bishop d7 or knight c7. For example, bishop d7. But rook takes rook, and then it's a winning position. Rook versus two minor pieces, but two pawns and the rook versus two minor pieces plus a strong attack. Okay, another move is knight c7. How would you continue after knight c7? Yeah, queen e5, threatening to take here. And if bishop d7, you just take, you take. You play g3. And what then? If queen goes, then queen f6. If queen goes away, if queen goes away, then rook h7 wins. However, even queen takes c7 is good. Queen takes c7, rook h8, queen takes there, then queen e7. Queen e7, knight e7, bishop h8 should be a winning endgame here. But actually it's much better just to play g3 and chase away this queen. Okay, if we go back, yeah, so after rook h8 we analyzed queen g5 and queen h4. Let's check if there is something else. In this position, maybe bishop c3 also works. So I played queen c3, which I decided is better, but maybe this with a threat to checkmate. Then, if bishop d7, you take this rook. But the problem is that now they get the initiative and continue the attack, trying to interact with their pieces. That's the problem. So queen e4, queen c1, bishop e1, maybe knight c5. So you see they find some coordination in this case. So that's why, yeah, here after queen g5 you'd better play queen rook first, rook h7. In case if he goes back, you check and force him again, and then queen and then queen c3, right? No. Rook h7, king f8, then queen c3 in this position. But if king goes there, you play this, they play that, and you should play h4. Because if now knight h4, you have this move, bishop g3, threatening to take here and delivering a checkmate with these moves, queen e8 and rook f8. No, bishop c3 again cannot be played. It's a checkmate in one move. Bishop c3 in this exact position, yes, actually should be good. If they, yeah, so they probably play bishop d7. What I didn't like, so I didn't like this position where they start the counterplay. So bishop b7 is another option. No, it doesn't work because e6 is blundered. Okay, guys, let's check this line. So you wanted to give up the queen, but play bishop b7 here. Rook h7, king goes there. Rook e7. If knight e7, bishop d6, rook e8, and then I think queen e6 wins the game because of this move, and then the knight is hanging. So something like bishop d5 doesn't work. That's why here the king should take. But there is a discovered attack, for example, bishop c3. And after the king goes, queen comes to e6, and no, probably you can find a checkmate. So what's the best move? King f8 maybe. King f8, queen e5, or e6. This is the idea. So then maybe this move, queen f6, king g8, queen g6, and they lost here. So the checkmate is unavailable. Yeah, it's a completely losing position. So giving up the queen and letting white to play with queen and dark square bishop is a huge mistake because the position is completely winning. The king is too exposed. So actually that is all I wanted to show you on our today's webinar. What you should learn. So you should learn about the direct attack. It's such a situation where you make a move and immediately create a threat. It can be a threat to the king or a threat to the enemy piece. Sometimes there is no defense and you win immediately. However, sometimes there is a defense, and in such a case, at least you gain a tempo. While your opponent is defending, you trying to create another threat or maybe apply another plan. So this is the main idea of a direct attack. This is how it works and helps you in your games. What else you should understand? So that direct attack is not such a situation when you play several moves and create one threat, and your opponent only makes one move and successfully defends against it. It's not a direct attack. It's something weird that you should avoid. So it doesn't make sense to spend 3 tempers to create a threat if your opponent can only spend 1 temper and defend against it. Okay, guys, fine. Do you have any questions? By the way, guys, I'm looking for a designer, for web designer. If you know anybody, you can provide them with my email. So this is my email. If you are also interested in private lessons, you can also email me. So next Sunday I'm going to conduct another webinar. So what else I want you to do? Guys, don't miss the webinars. Invite your friends if you like them. And don't forget to subscribe to my Twitch and to my YouTube. So this is the link to my YouTube. And this is the link to Twitch. So thank you for your attention. We will continue next Sunday. Follow my announcements, and if possible, follow my Instagram. I announce the webinars there, so this is where you can like watch of what I'm doing at the moment, so how I conduct lessons. I also publish some interesting stories there, and positions to analyze. Thank you, and see you next Sunday.